Here with the drive wire, and this is the Toyota Highlander XSE, and it's the first time that this trim has been offered on the Highlander. Now this is a 3-row SUV. It's in a highly competitive sector. Now XSE means that they've added some sportiness, but don't get me wrong, this is not a Ford Explorer XT with 400 horsepower or a Durango SRT with 475. But we'll go into what's under the hood in a second. This is a really big seller for Toyota. They sell in excess of 200,000 of these per year. And in this XSE trim, I actually think it looks really good. So what do you get in the XSE? Well, you get these nice 20-inch wheels, which I think look great. You also get a thicker anti-roll bar, about a millimeter thicker, 20 millimeters total. And then they've also stiffened the suspension by 18%. For me, it rides fairly similar, but it's not a bad handling car, as you'll see later on. And in a first for the Highlander, you also get twin exhaust pipes at the back. Here at the front, you get a lot of black. You also get a newly designed fascia, new grille, more aggressive looking. I think it looks pretty good. And then you get, these are in black. These little air intakes around the lights is black. And the same on the other side as well. It gives it a more aggressive, more sporty look. And then they've also added these black door mirrors as well as black surrounds around the windows. Viewed from the side, the Highlander actually looks pretty cool with this little spoiler at the back. It's got the roof rack. This one comes with the optional roof rails across, $350. The only other option is the JBL sound system inside. We'll take a look at that once we get inside the car. There's quite a bit of room in the back. You get about 18 cubic feet with all the seats up, and then you can put the seats down, pulling this little lever here. You just get them to the halfway point and drop them down. Same with this one on this side. With the third row folded, you get about 64 cubic feet of space, which is pretty good and bigger than most of its rivals. The two captain's chairs are the only ones you can get on an XSE, so no rear bench, sorry. Put those down, you get about 84 cubic feet of space. They're pretty easy to put down. Just simply grab this lever here, drops the seat sort of halfway. This one folds the chair completely flat, and if you want to roll it forward, the lever at the front allows you to move the chair wherever you need it to be. It's pretty easy. Both of these captain's chairs get a nice little armrest as well. And then once you get in the back, they are pretty comfortable. You can recline these a little bit more. Get a couple of cup holders, you got power, you got your own HVAC controls as well. It is a bit weird that the vent is here, but I guess if you aim it away from you, you won't get a cold face. But all in all, it's a pretty comfortable spot to be. Now once you're in the back, it's pretty standard. These seats sit really low, your knees sit pretty high. There's actually some headroom. I'm not very tall, so for me it's adequate. I have this seat pushed a little bit forward so I can actually have some room, and there's still plenty of room for the second row passenger. You get a couple of cup holders. Obviously you get your AC vents, heating vents. What you don't get is any power. Not bad for short distances. I couldn't spend a long time in here. But most of the time, these seats are pretty much filled with children anyway. And then to get these back up, it's pretty straightforward. You just simply pull this little thing here and position it where you need it to be. Grab the other one, pull that up, reposition it where you want it to be, and you're good to go. Under the hood is Toyota's excellent V6. It's reliable, it provides plenty of power. You cannot get the hybrid in the XSE. This is the only engine you can get. It's got 295 horsepower, 263 foot-pounds of torque, driven through an 8-speed automatic transmission. And it gets a pretty good move on. It gets out of its own way. 0 to 60 is probably a shade under 7 seconds. And it drives pretty nicely, as you'll see later on. Front Highlander is a nice place to be. The seats are comfortable. Now there is an option to get red leather, which I would have opted for, in place of these sort of vinyl plastic seats, but it doesn't really matter. These are really comfortable. This one's got full adjustment wherever you need it, power adjustment. This one, the passenger seat, has power adjustment, but it doesn't have seat height. typical sort of Japanese car, so that's one miss, which is a little bit annoying, but they are supremely comfortable, and I can imagine myself going on quite a long road trip in this car. So unfortunately on the XSE, you only get the 8-inch touchscreen, and that's a shame because the 12-inch one is really nice, but you can only get that one on the limited and the top level trims. But I would like to see the 12-inch screen be an option on this XSE. I would definitely option that every time. But other than that, everything else is really good. The touchscreen is pretty good. It's got a lot of physical buttons, home buttons, menu buttons, map, audio, etc. The HVAC controls below are easy to use, many physical buttons. You've got your control for your rear seat passengers, rear climate control, etc., rear wiper, rear demister, etc. This one comes with heated seats but not cooled seats. So what I do like is this little cubby space right here, which you can just put a bunch of stuff in there. You can put your phone in there, and you also get this cool little cubby here above the glove box, and it's sort of got a little lip on it to stop things flying at you and hitting you in the face. I like that too. Down below that little cubby I just mentioned, there's another little cubby here which fits your phone. Now you would have thought that this would be the wireless charger, but it isn't. I'll show you where that is in a second, but you've got a few USBs to play around with here, 3 altogether, and then you've got a little 12-volt right here. The rest of the center console, and it's actually really nice. I like the short stubby gear changer, 2 decent sized cup holders right there. And then on the left hand side you get your control for off-road stuff. So you've got mud and sand on the left, rock and dirt on the right. Push that down to go back to normal. And then right ahead of there you've got drive modes, sport mode, which does sharpen the responses somewhat. You've got a normal and eco mode as well. And then to the right of that, you can turn your traction control off. You can hit a snow mode, which alters the way the car drives for snow, and then hill descent, and then the stop start. Throughout the time that I've had this, I've had the stop start on, and apparently it hasn't stopped the car, so I'm not quite sure whether it is functioning, but I just turned it off. So clearly it's been on for most of this time and hasn't been stopping, so that's fine. I think they're a little bit annoying anyway, plus this car doesn't get great mileage, so I don't think it would help out much. And here in the center console, this is where they have sort of retrofitted with this slidey thing here, this for your phone, wireless charger. So definitely on not my favorite thing, because then you have to lift this up in order to get at anything that you've put in here. There's a little tray in there, and then any stuff that you have in there. So it is an odd placement for that. I would have thought it would have been made more sense to put it right here where all the power controls are. Honestly though, other than those couple of items, I really like this. Is a nice place to be. The graphics are not the most modern, but you can scroll through and you can see how much you have left until empty. I've been averaging 15.3 miles to the gallon. I've been driving in sport mode all the time, which is pretty standard for me. Now that gas prices are going up, I think if I owned one, I might put it in normal or eco a little bit more often. But I have these cars for a week, so obviously I'm not going to drive it particularly slowly. On the right of the steering wheel, you got your cruise control options, and then here's the lane departure warning, which I knew where it was, and I kept pushing this button. For some reason, I couldn't get it to turn off. I found out that if you push and hold, it turns it off. So it stopped that infernal beeping, but it was a little bit too late to change that. We'd already shot the video, I was driving it, so oh well. Right hand side, this is just to toggle through the menus that are ahead of the driver, volume control, make a phone call, go back, etc. So everything's in the right place. The steering wheel feels pretty nice in your hands. I can't complain at all. All right, so let's take it for a drive. I'll put it in sports mode, seeing as it's the sporty version of this car, and see how it goes. So first impressions are that it is quite soft. Very little difference between this and the standard or other trims of Highlander that I've driven before. I didn't expect it to be firm and harsh riding. It's very smooth. I like this engine too. It pulls really well. It doesn't have a whole lot of torque, but it is ideally suited to this kind of car. Obviously, it's not going to get as good fuel economy as the hybrid model, but it's not bad at all in terms of driving. I always get this feeling of it's hewn from granite. These Toyotas are just so solid. I understand why over 200,000 people buy the Highlander. It's super roomy. It's a nice drive. This V6 is pretty good. It's going to benefit from a little bit better road holding on these tires. And in sport, it seems like the transmission holds the revs, so you can at least get on it a little bit and have some fun. The steering is pretty good. It's reasonably direct. There doesn't seem to be too much play in it. You turn, it moves. Now we might take this off-road, I'm not sure yet. It does have some different modes, which I went into earlier when I talked about the interior. You definitely can't feel the additional thickness in the anti-roll bars. Can't really feel much difference in the steering. It sounds really good on it. It doesn't sound strained in any way. But I can't help feeling that now that Toyota has the new Turbo 6, even the base model's got 300 and something horsepower, 400 foot-pounds. How about making a fast version of a Highlander, like compete with the Explorer ST and Durango SRT? They should definitely do that. Yeah, there's really not much not to like about this car. Everything seems to be in the right place. I wish the 12-inch touchscreen was available on this model. It isn't. It's a bit like the captain's chairs. You can only get captain's chairs on this model. So if I wanted a bench seat, I can't. I prefer the captain's chair, so I'm good with that, but I would like a bigger touchscreen, and I can't get the 12-inch touchscreen even as an option, so that's a bit of a miss. Other than that, though, it is beautifully well made in here, solid. I like this sort of fake sort of carbon fiber trim on this more sporty model. I like the seats, they're super comfortable, and you can't help but feel that get this on a freeway and, you know, do a road trip, you'd be comfortable for hours, because these seats are soft but supportive. The suspension's soft but works well. It doesn't roll in the corners too much. There's a little bit of dive under braking, but that's to be expected. And then these tires, even though they're 20-inch wheels, are really very quiet on the surface. Normally when you put bigger tires on, you expect a bit more road noise. These are fine. And let's face it, Southern California roads are pretty grim. They're potholed, they're patched, they're uneven, they're just not made well. And this thing deals with them perfectly. No crashy ride, it's composed. Yeah, I can't complain about the drivability. It really is good. Now, is this V6 better than the hybrid? Obviously, it doesn't get as good fuel economy. And you don't have any choice, you've got to have the V6 with the XSE. But if I had a choice, would I take the hybrid? No. I think if you're going to make a sort of a slightly sporty version of a 3-row SUV without giving it, 400 plus horsepower, the V6 would be the one to go for if you had a choice. It matches the car perfectly well. It makes a good noise through its twin, first for Highlanders, twin tailpipes. All right, we're just going to hop on the freeway here. So it gets up to speed pretty quickly on the on-ramps, catches up with the traffic. It's a little busy right now if it's some rush hour, but all in all, this vehicle rides really nicely. As I said, has plenty of power to pass people wherever you need to. And suspension's, it's soft, yet composed. Holds its line really well in the turns. All right, so we just got off the freeway, and what do we think? Well, I really like this car. It's one of those cars that I don't want them to take away at the end of the week. I'd like to keep it for a little bit longer. Probably one of my favorite 3-row SUVs that I've driven. I've driven a few. This one's good. I mean, some of the tech is a bit dated. There's a couple of things that aren't quite right, but my goodness, it is a comfortable, nice riding car with a ton of room. It's a Toyota, so it'll last forever. And it's just a nice place to be. So anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like. Let me know if you've got a Highlander. Make a comment. Tell me what you think of this. Tell me what you think of the video. And we will see you next time. Oh, wait a second. We actually did take this car off-road. I said we might do earlier, and we did. We found a large mud puddle. Despite this car having 20-inch rims and regular street tires, we got some of that fun on video. Here's the footage. Out.